everything right, it was you and me.
Hello everyone, my name is Nayeema and welcome back to my channel, or two if you are new. And today we are doing another recommendation video. I have not done a recommendation video in a really long time. I used to do recommendation Fridays where every Friday I'd upload a new recommendation video, but I've been slacking on them. And so today we are doing some dark romance recommendations that are perfect for this October month, for this spooky season, and I'm incredibly excited about it. So obviously there have been tons of people who have uploaded this video before me, and I purposely have not watched them. I'm sure a lot of these books, if not all of them, are going to overlap because these are pretty popular books. They all have recently like blown up. So if people have talked about this, or you heard people talk about this book many times throughout this month, I'm very sorry. Without further ado, let's just get into dark romances to read during this spooky season. Okay, so the first book that I'm going to share with you guys today is a book that I recently read and just fell head over heels in love with. I recently read this. I finished it about a few days ago, and I'm so sad that it took me so long to read this because it is everything. It is a new favorite book. It's possibly like a favorite of the entire year. I'm pretty sure it's going to be on that list at the end of 2021. But I just cannot wait to talk about it with you guys. That is Gothic Khana by 𝓲𝓸𝓬𝓲𝓪. I have read the Dark Verse series by 𝓲𝓸𝓬𝓲 and I thoroughly enjoyed that series. Gothic Khana is her first standalone ever, and I was very impressed. I really loved her writing and her writing style. Everything about this just made me so incredibly happy and invested. I didn't want to put down this book. Whenever I left, I was just thinking about this book. Like, I wanted to come back and read this book. And so this book is about this girl named 𝓲𝓬𝓬𝓪, and she did not have a traditional childhood at all. She lived basically in this like super small town, even isolated from that town in like the woodsy area with her mom. And so everyone in this small town kind of gossiped about her and her mom. Her and her mom both have purple eyes, and so people would call them a witch, people would call them all these names, always gossiped about them because they weren't conventional. Her mom would homeschool her and have all these teachings for her. Mom would barely talk to her. It wasn't a traditional relationship between them at all, but 𝓲𝓬𝓬𝓪 felt as though she was really incredibly loved and cared for, and she loved her mom. So basically the book takes place, and we don't really know what has led 𝓲𝓲𝓬𝓪 to this place, to the point in her life, but we know that she's about to like embark on a new journey. She gets a letter from the school called University of 𝓵𝓐𝓬, and so she has never heard of the school. Barely anyone has ever heard of the school. It's a letter asking her to join, and she does. She's 21 years old at this point. She's definitely a late starter, but she's like, you know what, I'm gonna take this as a sign and go. So she goes to the University of 𝓵𝓐𝓬, and it is very clear that something is up with the school. 𝓲𝓬𝓬𝓪 is a very spiritual person. She feels energies. Sometimes she hears voices. Sometimes she just picks up on vibes very quickly, and like her intuition is really good. Right away when she gets there, she's like, something is not right here. This is a very gothic university. It takes place on like a castle on a mountain, and there's like this huge wood surrounding it, and it's super creepy, super gothic, just perfect for this season. And so basically there's tons of rumors about this school, that the university is haunted. There have been people who have gone missing every 5 years at one of these, like at the event that the university holds, and it's just super creepy, so amazing. This is actually a romance between 𝓲𝓬𝓬𝓲𝓬𝓬 and her professor, Mr. 𝓿𝓲𝓬𝓬𝓬, and she's 21, college. And yeah, I will say, usually I really dislike teacher-student romances. I've never found them that engaging. I don't like the authority figure position over someone, so I've never really enjoyed them, but this one just worked for me. First of all, it takes place in college, at a college. She's 21. It is still a position of power over 𝓲𝓬𝓬𝓬𝓬, but I don't know, somehow 𝓲𝓬𝓬𝓬𝓬𝓬 made it work, and I loved it. 𝓲𝓲𝓬𝓬𝓬𝓬 is super cool. She uses her crystals, she reads tarot cards, she like cleanses her space with incense, and it was just so fun. I love reading about this. Is actually the first time that I really read about a heroine who is super spiritual, and so it was so much fun. I loved reading about this book. And beyond that, there's just like this huge mystery. There's multiple mysteries that are taking place in here. It's super creepy, and yeah, it was so much fun. I could not put this book down, and it is perfect for you to read if you haven't already. during this Halloween season. Trigger warnings for suicide. And I'm sure there's other ones, but I can't think of any. But suicide is the one that's like really prevalent on my mind. And yeah, I love it so much. And pick it up if you haven't already. So the next book that I'm going to talk to you guys about today is Haunting Adeline by H.G. Carlton. If you guys watched my last video, I talked about it then. I read this book, I believe, in September, and it took me out of a reading slump, and for that I am so grateful. Not only that, it's a stalker romance, which I just love, and it was executed so well, and I just loved it so much, and I think it's the perfect book to read during this time. So Haunting Adeline is about this author, and she just inherits a house from her grandmother. Her grandmother has always lived in this really huge manor, this huge estate mansion, and Adeline has always been really just in love with it, like the atmosphere of it. It's super gothic, it's super creepy. It takes place on, like, the house is at the edge of a cliff. It's so scary, so much fun, and she's always just like really been just really attracted to that house and like always wanting to spend her time there when she was younger. And so she inherits the house when her grandmother dies, and so she moves in, and she comes across a diary from her grandmother's mother, so her great-grandmother, named Gigi. And so Gigi was actually murdered back in her day, and it's been a mystery of how she died. And so Adeline starts reading her diary to find out why, to find some context clues as to who killed her and see if she can uncover the mystery. And one of the things in Gigi's diary is that she actually had a stalker, which, funny enough, so does Adeline. She has a stalker named Zaid. So obsessed with him, so in love with him, everything about him I'm just just so in love with. And so Zaid actually saw Adeline at one of her like signings for her new release or something like that. And so from that moment on, he becomes super obsessed with her. He stalks her outside of her window. If somebody touches Adeline, you will never see that person again, like they are gone. Yeah, he just follows her, moves things around, breaks into her house, and it's just so creepy and so delightful and just so fun. And so it was really interesting to see the parallels between like Gigi and her stalker and then Adeline and her stalker. Yeah, it's just amazing. I love a good creepy stalker romance. Some really fun things that take place in here are like in a scary haunted house amusement park type of setting, which is just perfect for this time. Also, obviously you have the whole creepy stalker element, which is super fun to read about. In my opinion, I love stalker romances, so it made reading this book even more fun, especially during this time in the fall and everything. The book is called Haunting Adeline. Like, come on now, like it is perfect to read during this month. Yeah, I just really loved Adeline, and I really loved Zaid as well. First of all, she's an author, which I love reading about authors, and I just thought it was super cool. This book was set up perfectly for the season. The fact that she lives in this old manor that she just inherited, and yeah, and there's definitely like a little bit of a paranormal aspect in there as well. Sometimes she feels like the presence of others in the house, and whenever Zaid's in there, he's like literally feels like the ghosts on him. And so yeah, it's just so amazing, so steamy. The smut in here was delicious, like to die for. And yeah, I really enjoyed this one, and I think if you haven't read it, you should, especially now. It's the time to do that, so go. Run. So the next book that I'm going to talk to you guys about is one that I don't talk about often. I did make a similar video to this last year during October, and this was mentioned, but since then I haven't talked about it a lot. So if you guys haven't seen that video, I thought I might as well just go ahead and drop an oldie but a goodie, and one that I feel like is still not as popular as it should be. Like, this book is amazing, and I do not understand why people are not reading it. So if you haven't read this and this sounds interesting to you, please read it. This is a favorite book of mine, and I feel like it should be read by everyone and their mother. So that book, of course, is Ecstasy by K.V. Rose. I read this book last year in 2020 sometime, and I binge read it. I read it in one night. I have a vlog up of me reading it. It's super old and super crusty, so I would not recommend going to go watch that. But if you want to see me experiencing my favorite book ever, I might link it down below. I might not. I don't really know. If I remember, I'll link it. But this book is called Ecstasy by K.V. Rose, and funny enough, the book of the person who, Zara, who is the main character, whoever she doesn't choose, which I'm not going to give any spoilers because there is a little bit of a love triangle in here, they just got their own book, and it's out now, and it is, I can just tell you guys, it is perfect for this fall season and for the spooky season. I have not read it yet, but the vibes of it, like, Yes, it's called Omnius. Already that name, Omnius, is perfect. So yeah, if you read this and realize you need more, like immediately, go pick up that one. I have yet to read it. I'm probably gonna read it really soon. But yeah, we're gonna talk about Ecstasy. This was one of my favorite books in 2020, and it is amazing. So basically, this takes place at a university, and we have Zara, our main character, and she's a drug addict, so trigger warnings for that. Yeah, so she's a drug addict, and she has been having this on and off relationship, really toxic relationship with her boyfriend Alex. And so one night they get into this huge fight, things go a little bit too far, and they decide to like completely call it quits. Obviously Zara's like a drug addict, Alex is just like a complete like asshole, like a horrible person. And Alex has a roommate, his name is Eli, and Eli has always been like in the background watching these things happen, these fights take place between Alex and Zara. And so when he sees that final fight between them, he's like, you know what, I'm going for it. So he does. And there's some secrets, there is something very sinister and something very like taboo between the dynamic of all three of them, just because first of all, this is not a poly relationship, number one, but it is a little bit of a love triangle. It's not traditional at all. Whoever you think she's going to end up with, she's not. And I swear I flip-flopped back and forth throughout this, but just the vibes of this, it's not, I would say it's a very dark romance, which is why I think it's perfect for this. There isn't super like creepy, there is creepy elements with one of the guys, but I wouldn't say there's any like paranormal situations that are going on or any like gothic themes. It's just simply a dark romance with people who are not in their right mind. And I think that is so fun to read about during this time. And yeah, it's super amazing. I've cried so many times while reading this book, just because some parts are super emotional and some parts are really hard to read about. And yeah, this book just means so much to me, and it's so good and so dark and so creepy. And I think you guys really need to read this if you haven't already. It is amazing, and I'm really excited to read the book of the person that she doesn't end up with really soon. I know that one is going to be incredibly creepy and so perfect to read now. So yeah, read Ecstasy. The next book that I'm going to talk to you guys about is called 𝓼𝓸𝓬𝓲𝓪 by 𝓿𝓲𝓬𝓬, and this is a book that I recently talked about in my last video, and this has also been a book that has been blown the F up like all throughout every book platform, Bookstagram, Booktube, Book Talk. Like everybody has been talking about this book, and for good reason. It's a really good book, and I think it's so good to read right now. 𝓼𝓸𝓬𝓬𝓬 is about this girl named Jessica, and in high school Jessica was a very popular mean girl, a bully. She was just not a good person, and so her subject of the person that she bullied was named Manson. I hate that name, but his name was Manson in high school, and everybody bullied him, including Jessica. But also in high school, they did have this weird like tension between them. I think they both found each other super attractive, but Jessica was obviously a mean girl. He was obviously labeled the freak, a super like weird person. So she just bullied him all the time. And so what happens is basically, I think maybe it's a year after high school ends, or some months. I don't know how long high school has passed, but Jessica and her friend are going to a Halloween party. She does not expect to see the person that she bullied like all throughout high school at this Halloween party, Manson. And so at the Halloween party, Jessica and Manson play a game of drink or dare. And so Jessica ends up losing drink or dare, and Manson has dared her to be his servant for like the rest of the night, and she has to do everything that he says. She can't say no, and it's all for that like one night. And so basically things happen, like a lot of things happen. It takes place first of all at a Halloween party, which obviously perfect to read right now. There are some very degrading things that happen in here, and very creepy things that happen in here. It really capitalizes on Jessica's fear, which I really enjoyed. So yeah, this is a novella, if I haven't mentioned that already. It's super short and super fast, and it just gets you in that mood and mindset for the season. And yeah, it was just a lot of fun, really fast paced, really short, really steamy, really degrading, really creepy. His name's Manson, so you know. And yeah, it was just a lot of fun. And if you haven't read it already, which I'm sure everybody has because this book has blown up, then you need to, especially now. And the last book that I'm going to talk to you guys about today is actually a series. This is a series I've talked about many times on my channel, but I truly think if you are going to read this series, that now is the time to do it. I think October is a perfect time to read it. And this series just warms my heart, gives me butterflies, makes me incredibly happy. And I know that if you read it during this season, it will just amplify everything that you are feeling in that moment. Like seriously, like all the spooky vibes, they just attack when reading this book, and it's amazing. And that is the Elite Kings Club series by Amo Jones. I've talked about this many times on my channel. It's one of my favorite series ever. I read every single one of these books. I finished each of them in one sitting, back to back to back to back. And I read this in like the very beginning of quarantine, was obsessed, and I just feel like everybody should read it. And if you don't like it, which I have recommended to people and people are just like, I don't get it. I'm like, yeah, exactly. You don't get it. And I feel like you guys will. So if you haven't read it, please do. This is the Elite Kings Club series by Amo Jones. The first book is A Silver Swan, and the first book follows Madison Montgomery. Madison Montgomery is a girl who is trying to kind of like escape her past. Her mother actually killed herself and she's looking for a fresh start. Her and her dad is remarrying this woman, and so they're moving in with the stepmom and the stepmom's son in the Hamptons somewhere. And so Madison is going there for a fresh start. Everybody was kind of talking about her back at her old school, talking about her, rumors flying, everything was just kind of crazy for her. So she's kind of ready for this fresh start. So she goes to this new school, and she does not expect to have the attention of 10 bad boys that kind of own the school, who run the school. She wasn't expecting all their attention to be on her. One of the boys in that group of friends is actually her new stepbrother, and she specifically gains the attention of the leader of that group, and that is Bishop Vincent Hayes. And with this group of boys, there's always been like circulation of rumors around them. Oh, they're a part of like this cult. Oh, they're a part of this weird group. They're super strange, this and this. And a whole new creepy world is revealed to her. There are secrets, major secrets. I don't want to give too much away. This is very much Secret Society-esque, but Madison is somehow tied into the Elite Kings Club, their world, what goes on, and she didn't know that before. And so yeah, it's a lot, it's intense. This book is really dark and so fun to read, and these group of boys just like scaring her just to scare her, and I think that is so fun to read about. There are so many secrets, there are so many family lies that Madison is entangled upon, and so that is basically the premise of like the first 3 books, just really setting up the world, Madison really figuring out like what she has to do with it, the romance between Madison and Bishop. It's just amazing, so amazing. And then the next 2 books follow Nate and his love interest, which I can't give away because there is some speculation from the first 3 books of who Nate's love interest will be. So yeah, there's those. The next 2 books follow Nate, which is her stepbrother, and his love interest, and then the last 2 books follow one of the boys and his love interest, which again I can't say anything about because it's this whole crazy web of lies, this whole crazy secrets being revealed. Like I gasped. I was in such shock while reading these books, and it was honestly just so creepy and so like vibey and atmospheric. There's a little bit of a gothic vibe, I'd say. Super creepy. All the covers are so pretty. I'm sorry, I'm a sucker for a good cover. These covers are beautiful, and it's just so well written. I think Amo Jones, her books are perfect to read during this time, and especially the Elite Kings Club. I loved it, and I think you guys will too if you like that kind of vibe that we're talking about. Secret Society, amazing. Go read it if you haven't already, especially now. So that was the last of the books that I'm going to be talking to you guys about today. I could make so many more parts to this video, so if you guys want more recommendations for this spooky season, let me know. I'd be so down to make more. Also down below, don't forget to tell me some of your favorite dark romances to read during this time. I'd love to add them to my TBR. I'm always looking for new dark romances to read, so be sure to do that. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed, don't forget to leave a big like and a comment down below, and also subscribe so you never miss another upload from me. And I will see you guys very soon with a new video. Bye.
If I got one thing right, it was you and me.